An Australia without rugby league is not Australia. Rugby league has been a fabric of our society for hundreds of years. It's people's escape, it's people's relaxation, and we need to do everything in order to continue that great tradition of rugby league.
It has been those Australians who have worked hard every day. They have their dreams, they have their aspirations. These are the quiet Australians who have won a great victory tonight.
Talking of quiet Australians, there seem to be a few of them right now quietly going off with a whole lot of money in their pockets and their cars, etc. I mean, we'll talk about a football coach that may well be walking away with $1.5 million. We've got Sonny Bill who's just waltzed in and he's driving. What's he driving? A
Bentley, is it?
A
BMW
Coupe,
Bentley,
quietly valued a few $100,000. You know, I believe the Keary boy's on it. He's got a Ferrari.
Yeah, it's not part of his salary.
Not part of the salary.
Not part of the salary.
And not
obviously.
registered to them either.
No.
Registered to some anonymous group out there. So plenty of people are doing well during COVID. I've got to say that. Brendan Cowell, good afternoon to you.
G'day, Stephen. G'day, Kris. G'day, Denis. G'day, Fire Up. G'day, Australia. It's great to be here. Coming at you live from Wellington, where everybody's talking about rugby league, no matter where you go. What else is there to talk about?
Well,
so you're in the central west of New South Wales.
Yeah, that's right, and that's where I like it. Right at the bottom of the earth here, and rugby league is saving my life every day. So it's great to be here.
I'd like to bring up something that might upset you a little bit. A man called Cameron Smith. Cameron Smith, he hasn't played recently because for the first time in his glittering career, he's been taken out with an injury because it was the only time he dared to hang on to the ball long enough to score a try.
You don't believe that, do you? The injury. You know it's a hoax. He just wanted a week off.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Why would he want a week off, Denis? What is the
just to rest the old body. Couldn't be bothered. We're on top of the ladder. I couldn't. Yeah,
that
I need
doesn't
to think
ring
about
true with Cameron Smith, does it?
Ring true and Cameron Smith.
Now,
you often say those together.
On my ranking of the least favourite teams, Melbourne sits number one of my least favourite teams. And the other day, I actually felt a certain amount of, I don't care, sympathy for the team without Cameron Smith. They played a different game. It was like, I thought it was Bellamy that coached that team that way, but in actual fact, it's Cameron Smith who does it. And recently, it's been announced that in America, Kris, you know about QAnon.
That's on the ABC after Media Watch, right?
It is not. QAnon is, well, it's a mysterious, dare I say, shadowy group of individuals, not combined by any sort of house of abode, but their philosophies tend to be conspiracy theories of the worst kind, dedicated against the Democratic and the Liberal mob in America.
Right. That sounds like the board of the Melbourne Storm.
Yes.
Pretty much.
So there's a deep state cabal of pedophile Satanists led by the powerful Democrats is working to take down Trump. Now, for whatever reason, they've taken a slogan from Psalm 29, and it is simply, "We are the storm."
Well, it's not quite Psalm 29. Psalm 29 actually
It's not
refers
quite.
to the Lord being the storm.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady, the Patriots quarterback, he
Yes.
put out a tweet saying, "Fate says to the warrior, a storm is coming. The warrior says, I am the storm."
I am the storm.
That's where they've got. So that allegedly, that's where the Democrat. That's
know
where
this has
the
been
Republicans.
twisted to-
Of course, it has.
To some
It's
simpletons.
got Cameron Smith's fingers all over it.
I thought
Has that got anything to do with when Cameron Smith walked into the Warriors dressing room and said, "I am your saviour"?
I am the storm. I think
Is
that's
that when the
exactly what
Storm
happened.
walks with the Warrior and says, "Yeah, I just beat you 50-0, but thanks for coming to Australia"?
Now, Brendan, I suggest to you that if you could slip in a little subtle message just to disturb the QAnons and say, "I am the storm," in your film, Avatar 2, The Year of the Shark.
What's my motivation? To unsettle.
To unsettle.
disrupt.
Disrupt.
My theory, by the
All right,
way.
you ready?
Yeah. Oh, we're going to get
Someone
it?
has to call action.
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 I am the storm.
Oh, boy. That was
Yes.
Cameron Smith. That was him. I recognise that voice anyway.
Can I say there is a lineage between...
I just think the thing about Cameron Smith is I've dated Cameron Smith in my
Yes.
past.
He's
and
hairy,
I
hirsute.
think he's a very, very needy lover, and he's not happy till everybody needs him. He didn't feel needed enough, so he said, Storm, do you need me? And then he took another week off and he goes, Titans, do you need me? Broncos, do you need me? And he's waiting till the entire rugby league culture is like, Cameron, we need you. Then he's right, okay, I will arrive. I will be Lazarus.
What is he dangling in front of them? What's the glittering prize for someone to want him enough as to fulfil his neediness?
Just the most palpable dishonesty and octopus cheating psychology we've ever seen in the history of the game.
That's attractive. I know.
He's the octopus.
But did you not read Malcolm Knox on the weekend, Brendan, who basically said that the case can't actually really be made against Smith? Maybe a bit of a misstep around the Alex McKinnon thing, works the referees a bit, but never in the papers for any scandal that the whole thing's a concoction. I didn't buy it, but still.
No concoction.
But my theory, by the way, is when he walked into the dressing room, he berated the Warriors for saying, you make me look bad because you don't give me any opposition. I need to shine against decent opposition, and that's the way he is.
Yeah.
And I believe what he's offering, because Gus Gould was opining on this last night, is that what Smith, if he doesn't retire, which his old man says he would, and goes off and works for QAnon, he's offering a package deal.
Oh, yes.
Him and Bellamy.
Together.
Yeah. Because Gus Gould goes, you start at the top. So if I'm the Titans or I'm the Broncos, I ring up Bellamy Smith and say, come together.
Right.
Wow.
No, I hear
What can't we just... What about Cameron becomes a little lotto draft player and every week Paul Kent shakes a cup and Cameron Smith plays for a different team each week?
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful.
Dooley, and that's revolution.
You know what I mean?
That's
And it's just the
entertainment.
Smith lotto.
Yeah.
And you get Bellamy and Smith for a week, and you never know Sharkies have got Smith this week.
Now, with
That's exciting,
with
you know.
Volandis
You
in
never know
charge,
who's going to get him.
Volandis would love that idea. He'd lap it up, wouldn't he? One more curve ball into rugby league.
There was another suggestion
You'd
with
have
coaches.
to ask Gus first. You'd have to ask
right.
Gus.
Gus is the boss above Volandis. But there was a suggestion that the coaches, the AFL, sorry, Stephen, has this system, the draft, where they can select players from the draft.
Right.
The idea is that at the end of each season, the coach changes teams. Whichever coach finishes first, they coach the team that finishes bottom. Whichever coach finishes second.
If off contract, surely.
No. They only have a 1-year contract.
Is that right?
That's it. That's all you get. The coach only stays for a year, unless you stay at 7 and 8. Unless you stay in 8th position and maybe you're there. Or the Tigers would keep the same coach every year for a decade in 9th.
This explains why a team like what do they call it themselves? The Giants
The Greater Western Sydney
can come
Giants.
from nowhere to somewhere pretty quickly because they get that system that feeds in talent at the bottom.
And Eddie Maguire hates it. So that's a good
Doesn't
thing.
explain why Melbourne did so well, sort of second and a half year into the code to win the grand final.
Well, Chris Anderson surely isn't the explanation for that.
Right, okay.
Glenn Lazarus is
Right.
the explanation.
Now, you may have heard over the ditch there, Brendan, that the Crusher, the latest tackle to get more publicity, has been put forward a theory by Roy Masters that it's because people are now employing more of a bum-on style to get more purchase in the grass. So the big blokes are running bum first. So when they get tackled, naturally they curl over feeder style and the head goes forward. Looks like a crusher. Is it a crusher? We don't know. And then, of course, acting skills are coming into play. You would know all about that. And Parramatta are being accused of gross acting skills.
Well, I saw Nathan Brown's performance last week, and I thought it reminded me of my NIDA audition back in 1995.
And he's supposed to be a hard man, right?
And it was I went for the modern before the Shakespeare, and I wish I flipped it in retrospect. But I thought he pulled it off, but then he went too quickly up, straight back up. He should have held on to the soreness for another 2 or 3 seconds.
Yes.
Trusted that he was lived in the moment, I guess, be in the moment a little bit longer.
Yes.
And that'd be my acting advice. But I think if you look at the 6 again revolution, which has largely been a success, we must say, players are not being tackled, harassed and wrestled by Cameron Smith and his delegates for 4 hours on the ground. They're running and running and running. And I just think the crusher is a necessary recompense for that kind of style of play. We're having a 6 again. And there's only one way to stop them, and that's to crush them.
Crush their neck bone. Now, on that acting style, is there a famous teacher like Stanislavski or whatever that in the moment that sort of staying put in your role?
Yeah, well, I think if it was
What school?
Stanislavski, he would have said to Nathan Brown, think of something in your childhood, Nathan, that made you stay down. You know, go to a minute where you felt flawed, where
A good
you know
kick in the
your
Webster
brother,
goals.
your brother got more Weet-Bix than you because your dad didn't really like you as much. Your goldfish died, Nathan. Remember when the goldfish died? What did you call your goldfish, Nathan? I think you called him Brett Kenny, didn't you? He was your favourite goldfish. Remember when Brett Kenny, the goldfish, died and you just sat out in the rain on the
and no one can console him or get him off the ground. He's just stuck in that moment.
I think it's tough.
Channel that. I think it's memory.
I think it's tough for Nathan Brown because basically every childhood memory just makes him angry. That's it. But what about? I think the bellwether in all this Crusher issue was the Cooper Johns in his run-on debut for the Melbourne Storms, his alleged crusher on Micah Sevo. And I think we'll just throw to some audio now of the great Gordon Tallis describing how it was for Micah and Cooper in that particular moment.
But Sevo does lay down a bit. He's one of those guys coming off his try line. Minnie Mouse would tackle him and he stays down, but when he's going for a try on his own line, mate, the Incredible Hulk can't stop him. He's one of those guys, Sevo. He's got a bit of a lay down in him, but...
So, I mean, if you were coaching Micah, Brendan, I mean, a lot of people have pointed out that his first problem, apart from the physics of the mass of Cooper Johns causing him any damage at all, is that when he clutches, he's clutching the crown of his head rather than the neck. Would you address that issue?
Yeah, well, the thing with Micah is he's got a massive head.
Yeah, big head.
First of all, so and so you got to look at what you're working with. Wherever he grabs, it's gonna be obvious because the landscape is enormous. But where Micah's got to work on is every time he's scored a try for me, he's shown that he's not an honest actor because if he drops the ball from 4 miles away, triggers a little bit of the grand final between Manly and the Sharks back in '79, I think it was. But he will fib every time that he scored a try. Every single time he will pretend he scored a try. And I think that's fundamental stuff coming from an acting level that he isn't actually connected to his emotions.
Natural.
He's not connected to character. He's not a natural, no. And he could do with the 3 years, maybe just a year at the Actors Centre. I wouldn't give him the 3 years at NIDA. I'd just give him one of those drop-in courses because he's a natural.
With a head like that, he's bound to. I mean, he's got presence, hasn't it, on stage? I mean, look at Nate Miles and his acting career. Great guns.
Great ad.
Big head. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Nate Miles, what the world's largest dwarf. And he was just fascinating to look at.
On that, I've heard that Matt Damon's got a really big head. Who's the famous Tom Hanks has got a really big head. A lot of these actors they work on screen because they've got big heads.
That's good news for Sam Burgess.
They're very short. Actors are very short,
but big
they
heads.
have massive hair.
Seinfeld, big head.
And
exactly.
Part of this here is, by the way, Cooper Johns, I thought his performance was somewhat robotic and he got put on report for a crusher tackle, so he fits right into the Storm
Somewhat
system.
robotic.
Oh, it was pathetic. It was pathetic. And Matty John said, we're trying not to put any pressure on him. Well, maybe you should put some on, Matt, because that kid, he was phoning it in from Newcastle.
It was shocking.
It was bloody boring.
But Denis, there's been some discussion in the media that, and the Professor Roy Masters, no greater luminary than that, suggesting that the way that we fix this is that there's a code that the players don't run bum on Craig Young style, but they're actually honour bound to run forward in the tackle. What do you think?
I think a code which requires honour, no chance.
No chance.
Absolutely no chance. This is not a game of codes and honour. In fact, that's very left wing. That implies a union. And we don't want a union. We don't want a union anywhere near the game. I do want to ask Brendan, there was a stoush between Bellamy and Arthur.
Yes.
Where Arthur came out and said, well, we don't coach our players to act.
No, Dennis, he said, that's not our go.
That's not our go.
Lay down, Sally style.
And Bellamy said, I disagree with Brad on that one. Could I just ask, obviously you're an actor, so you're going to be able to lie to us, but I'm going to put it on you, Brendan, that you have in fact been approached by Parramatta. You've been outlining a plan. I believe you've already had that plan. Have you been delivering that to NRL clubs over the last few weeks from Wellington?
Well, yeah, the thing is that the plan, look, it's a triple-pronged answer. I've been developing the plan, but the thing is I keep running into Andrew Johns out there, so I end up on a 3-day bender. I can't remember the plan. The other thing is with the bum-on attack, what's been happening, because people can't touch, a lot of people are touching bums these days, just for safer social distancing measures. The rugby league players don't know when they're allowed to touch and when they're not. So I think the bum thing is just a result of guys just trying to stay sanitised and safe.
Yes.
But, Arthur, the fear of the fine is amazing now. And I've always wondered why coaches can be criticised, players can be criticised, the board, the Gus, even you guys, even me right now are probably being criticised. But why can't we criticise the referees?
Wow.
Now Craig Bellamy's having to hook himself before he says anything. And we're questioning integrity. We question bloody everyone's integrity. I'm questioning my integrity now.
As we speak.
Well, I mean, Des Hasler had to introduce the word facetious into the rugby league lexicon in order to be able to say what he wanted to say.
Yeah, they just don't get facetious. Hey, if I could, the game's greatest thinker at one point, Ricky Stewart, came up with this idea. He said, well, if you go down with a crusher and it's head damage, go off for HIA 15 minutes. That'll stop it.
Great thinker. He's a great
That's
thinker.
really interesting, isn't it?
Forget a fine or a penalty, just go HIA.
But the problem with that is if that's the consequence,
Yes.
then the player who right now is grabbing his neck under any pretense
Gets away with it.
will not grab their neck to
he
feign that they're
doesn't
not
want to go
hurt
off.
in order to stay on the field. So, I mean, these are metaphysical issues that are hard to resolve, aren't they?
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think there's the bum on is part of it now, isn't it? We're just going to have to
Well,
accept
it used to
it.
be called a hit and spin.
Aiden
That's why it's
Guerra.
always been surprising. You run in, you hit, you spin, you can see your players, you can find where the offload is. And it seems like that's people have forgotten that happened all the
It's
time.
usually done by a forward who's broken their jaw and they're just a little gun shy now, but it seems to be a little more prevalent. But heading into the finals. When are the finals? Is it September, October, November, December?
Yes.
When's Origin?
Now,
Is the Origin replacing the Australian Open?
You missed it.
What's going on?
Origin's done.
Brendan, you're being disingenuous because you and I both know we've got a mathematical chance to get in there, and you have to lose for me to get in, and Sir George have to lose for you to get in there. 5 weeks we've got. That's it.
The Sharkies just like to keep it interesting. As soon as people start talking Sharks, we go, nah, we're going to disappoint you. Or are we?
Do you like the new home ground? Jubilee? Looks pretty good in blue and white and black.
Jeez, isn't that? I mean, that is just crazy. Playing on the enemy's ground. The fact that the Dragons had to turn up and sit in the away sheds.
Beautiful.
I mean, if life wasn't awful enough for the Red V.
Look at Stephen's
I got
grin.
4 words for you. I am the storm. And we will come
Isn't it we are? Is
Yes,
it we are the
yeah.
storm?
But you said I. So anyway, Psalm 29 was I am the thunder. Then they changed it to I am the we are the storm. I don't know. Whatever. We're coming to get you. Okay? Now, I believe
Has Cogra still got a sizzler?
I didn't see it. I drove past it today and didn't know, so I was looking at the Taj Mahal and saluting. Didn't see the. I think the sizzler's shut down.
No, I think
That's because you guys have come to town and
everything.
they've shut down because Sharks are in town. Don't want them. Don't want their business. Don't want their coins. Stay over Tom Uglies.
And no bottle shop in the no grog in the car park either.
None of that. No. I believe you've got
I think
a
it's
song.
called Postcode Pride. I think we call it in Cronulla, Stephen. Postcode Pride.
Okay. Yes, what do you got for us,
Look,
Dennis?
there's talk about We Are the Storm and QAnon and all this sort of stuff. And I had a look through my catalogue and I have the actual words for the Melbourne Storm theme song. This is the original version. Now they have changed a little bit to make it a little bit more politically
This
correct.
is like the Timey Kangaroo Down that was banned.
This is it.
Yes.
This is exactly like that.
The lost version.
This is the lost version.
Okay.
We hit 'em hard, we hold 'em down. When this storm hits, we'll blow the others out of town. We'll show them tough, we'll show them speed. The will to win is all we need, we will succeed. We're gonna smash that damn cabal of left-wing democratic liberal pedophiles. We are the storm from Melbourne town, we'll blow the others off the ground. We are the storm and we're number one. Now, I don't know if you noticed, hidden in there, a little line about where it's come from.
Yeah.
And it's been staring us in the face
staring us
all
in the
these
face
years.
Was there an
whole
Easter egg in
time.
there?
There was.
Was there?
Yes, there was. So there it is.
Are you
But the opening
Dennis,
line.
are you trying to say that Cardinal Pell is connected to the storm?
Well,
Absolutely.
no, but he is connected to the Brisbane Broncos. We might discuss that after the
A little
break.
later, yeah. We're off for a break, are we?
I think so.
Let's have a break.
This is Fire Up the Quiet Australia. Brendan Cowell from Wellington.
Sweet as, bro.
Sweet as, bro. Dennis Carnahan on the tunes there. Kris Gale, myself, Stephen Ferris. Back in a minute.
Now it's time for the latest instalment of the life and times of Gus Gould.
You ever have a mullet, Gus?
Yep, it was the fashion.
Don't you like it?
See, back in the old days, it was a mullet, and if you went to the school dance, you wore a floral shirt, high-waisted trousers, bell-bottom pants, high platform shoes.
Flares.
Yeah, flares with the high heels.
Did you ever have an earring?
No. No.
There are rumours around you were seen wearing an earring
No.
at one of the social occasions.
No. Could never afford an earring.
And that was the latest instalment of the life and times of Gus Gould.
I am quite Australian. Okay. Last week, the resurgent St George Illawarra Dragons defeated Brisbane Broncos. Now, everybody expected it to be a bit of a walkover, which it wasn't, and full credit to Brisbane. My son is a Brisbane supporter, and he couldn't even talk to me that night. He rang me the next day and he said, "You didn't deserve to win that game." I said, "Really? Okie dokie."
I don't know about that, but I have to say it was nice to see the Storm have a crack. And what about the
Brisbane?
Mr. Sorry.
You stormed out.
I'm being programmed. The Broncos have a crack, and didn't we all feel much better when we saw Mr. Toe himself, Katoni Staggs, make that run through your boys?
You did.
I enjoyed that. I don't know about you guys.
And the talk of origin selection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Toe sucking
It's
does
just
wonders for a
nice
man.
to know. It's nice to see that Katoni is just as lethal with the trousers on as he is.
Trousers off, yes.
Isn't it unusual that the main review of that footage, which of course I wouldn't ever deign to have looked at, was that it was sensitive? That he was
and even sensual.
He wanted to promote himself as an attentive,
And a caring, sharing sort of guy.
That's right. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Not like that Jack DeBellin
Well,
accusation.
who didn't he care for with the palm? He didn't care for whoever that was.
Was it Aiken? No,
That was
Aiken.
It was Aiken. Yeah, it was Aiken.
And a Clune. He went for the little guys. He's smart, isn't he? You know?
That is the idea.
That is the idea. Now, their coach, of course, I mean, I don't even know where to start. The litany of issues that Brisbane are facing at the moment, they are in disarray. Paul Murphy, their second largest private investor.
I think he's their largest private shareholder.
After News Corp.
At 22%.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
News Corp is a
He
public
didn't
institution.
say he said it's like a cancer. If you don't cut it out, it'll destroy you. But he was really referring to Seabot. I thought that's the way they do it north of the Tweed. Like a cancer, cut him out. Like Mary, we never said that about Mary.
Oh, not Barry Mary.
No, just a good bloke trying his hardest, but just not quite up to it.
But go. So Seabold, of course, is under immense pressure. It is D-Day tomorrow. Is that correct, Kris? You got your finger on the pulse.
What I love about the breaking news is it comes up on your phone, Seabold quits, and you go, great, we can definitively say he quits, and they go, Seabold will be announcing tomorrow that he quits. But apparently he's come to terms.
Well, today's the day off, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you know, I posted a picture on the Fire Up Facebook page yesterday with Seabold looking pensive going, shall I work from home tomorrow? Because he was due to come out of the bubble and assume the reins at Red Hill, and everyone said that's not a great idea. So basically, he was owed about another $2.4 million on his contract in the next 3 years prior to exercising the option. So they've negotiated a price, Stephen.
What is that figure?
Well, the original offer was 1. I'm hearing it's going to settle for about 1.5. So this is
Bentley, brown paper bags.
Yeah.
What's the average working wage at the moment? Weekly, annually?
60 to 80.
60 to 80,000. 60 to 80,000. And the Prime Minister?
Well, he's lucky to get in at about 300, right?
300 or 400 max, you know. And we're talking about walking away and doing nothing for the next whatever for 1.5 million.
Well, he's done nothing for the last 2 years and walked away with a similar money, so it's consistent. But what it says to me,
Can I just pose? Yep.
I was going to say this is Folau-esque. No, it's Folau-esque. The modern person in sport has to negotiate the best possible deal for themselves and then totally fail to perform and get paid out for doing nothing.
Can you cite other examples of that, Kris?
Yeah, Israel Folau.
Israel Folau, yeah.
It's a great example.
Evil genius.
Yeah.
Brendan, you were saying?
I just want to kind of, I don't know how this is going to sit, and I know it's controversial. We are south of the border, so luckily it might be okay. But I just want to say, why can't Brisbane suck?
Yes, exactly.
And if you look at every other team and we're like, Sharks suck at the moment. Oh, that's all right.
Yeah,
Geez, Titans are hopeless. Oh, that's
okay.
all right. Oh, Penrith were crap. They shouldn't have been. Oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
For 30 years, the Broncos have been in the competition. They haven't been shit yet. They're shit now.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. The New York Yankees, the Chicago Bulls,
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali, Torval and Dean.
Yeah.
They were all good, and then they were all just heaps shit for
That's
a
right,
while.
that's right,
Why
yeah.
can't the Broncos be shit? Why can't they bottom out? Just
'Cause
bottom out.
they've had it pretty
be
good, haven't they?
embarrassing, be humiliating. I don't care if there's $52 million a year going into the club. Beers for the boys, whatever, Kevy, Alfie, all the crap. I don't care. And this is not a shark talking.
Yeah.
It's just a rugby league guy that loves a good narrative. The narrative is now the Broncos are bottoming out. Fantastic. Have 8 shit years of Broncos, and then suddenly they start building Katoni Staggs' nephew
Like the
and
good
Jack
old
Bird's
days.
son. And bloody, here they come, and they win again.
this
And
is
that's
all
great storytelling.
All in the interest of fairness. You're saying, yeah, we all get shit times, but they haven't had it. They get the Friday night, they get the whole of the city, they get the biggest sponsors, they got the most money, and they deserve to have been. They manipulated it to be so successful. So let's have a rough patch right now.
When were Torval and Dean shit?
I was going to say,
When were Torval and Dean?
They 5 years.
Torval and Dean went out on top. I don't want to hear
Torval
a
and
word
Dean, we're not shit.
said
So-
against them. I mean, they dominated in Sarajevo, and it was a terrific story. But
Bolero, what a
we
great
take
piece of music
offence there,
Bolero
Brendan.
was.
draw the line.
I think she missed a spin. I think she missed one spin in China.
One spin.
But you're right, though. I mean, certainly all of us here have had the, well, I'm not out of the tough times for years, but there is something very alluring out of it. But the question then begs itself, does an Icon Walters / green ticket generate instant success? What is it about Icon that's going to turn this ship around?
Yeah, what's his track record
Well,
like?
they'd have to be. They would then go on to be the Fox Sports Broncos. Would
That's
they
right.
not? Or the 360
Same,
Broncos.
same ownership,
With-
same boss.
Well,
And
Kenny,
all the training sessions would be live, brought to you by Paul Kent and James Hooper, and Lara Pitt would be the fitness coordinator, I imagine, and
Buzz would be the media liaison.
You know, and it would all be broadcast 24 hours live on Fox with a voiceover by Matty Nagle.
Can you
How good
imagine?
is Matty Nagle?
Can you imagine each week when they announce the team on Tuesday? Like, every team has a video. Nables will go on for 6 or 7 minutes. You know?
Now, listen, Brendan, you're over in Wellington. I think you've done a great job in Unhinged. I think it's fantastic. Reviews are fine.
Thanks, man. Well, yeah, I'm just up on me farm and,
Happy on me farm.
working on me fire trails. No, thank you very much. I auditioned.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting. for the call.
When is that buddy film coming out? You and Russell.
I've only met Russell once, and that's when I was actually doing a sketch for the Footy Show back in the day when the Footy Show was,
Yeah, I think.
the pinnacle of Australian television, where I was trying to get into Russell Crowe's box by pretending I was Russell Crowe, and they
great.
shot it. They shot it for real with the hidden cameras. And there's me, and then the bloke,
What
the
were you
security
wearing?
guard on the box, didn't believe me, so I went and got the Gladiators thing and put it on my head, and I was like, "Come on, man,
What
I'm
were you-
Russell, let me in. This is my club. I paid for it with FPOS."
I pay for a lot to see Russell Crowe's kid go to you. Get out of my face, Dad.
I'm just, just go, Russ, because I actually look skinny at the moment.
Yeah, right.
Or, if I am Russell Crowe, and I'm happy about that.
Russ is morphing into Jack Thompson,
Jack
first
Thompson,
of all. No question about that.
I think he's playing him in his. Well, they're celebrating his 80th. Jack Thompson's 80th coming up.
Yeah, Jack was on the sound
And
this
he'll be
weekend.
making a cameo as Jack.
He's everywhere. But I'm
Oh, geez, you've got to think Russell could play Seabold.
Yes. Yeah.
Couldn't he?
Couldn't you? What?
Get in the
Could he
gym.
get the voice? He
No,
could get the
He
voice.
gets the voice is no problem.
The voice.
Or get Darren Lockyer to dub in the voice.
Yes, of course.
Because he does a great
Yes,
Seabold.
Yeah,
Russell
that's
could do it.
genius.
Yeah.
Get that in.
And,
Wow.
and I
Something
might
in the
be
air there.
I might be unfair here. I haven't seen Unhinged, but it's just a remake of Jewel, right? Which then became Jaws.
Yes, but in this climate, to pick on a young woman with a child, it's just a masterstroke.
Are you saying that's a misstep, Stephen?
I think it's such a misstep. People are loving it for some weird reason. They say it's the film you shouldn't like, but you actually enjoy. I don't know who says that.
You were on the Footy Show, weren't you, Dennis?
I had it. Oh, I was boned off the Footy Show. Yes,
Boned.
I was boned.
That was the terminology then, wasn't it?
That was it.
Now tell us about
Yeah,
this film.
I actually I interviewed Ronda Rousey.
Wow.
on the Footy Show, which I reckon was probably a career highlight.
Were you
But her career
starstruck?
actually went downhill after my interview.
So that was when she was out here and she got beat for the first time, right?
She got beat for the first time, and I think I was the last interview she had.
Oh, she ended up in the WWE and terrific career. So
But
no
were,
problem.
were you starstruck? I would have been.
I think she was. That was the problem.
Well, I said to her, Rhonda, with dating, like when you're dating a guy, are you ever in the kitchen and, it's your turn to do the washing? And he's like, you got to do the washing, Rhonda. And you turn around and you just go, no, it's not. Because that you could just do some floor work with the bloke in a second. And I think that turned her, I don't know.
That's what the date does do. To get the floor work.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us about this film, Avatar 2. Is that officially what it's called? The Year of the Shark?
Yeah, it's called Avatar 2, Year of the Shark, directed by Paul Gallen.
Yes.
And no, it's
produced by
I've
AT?
been shooting for 15 months with a bit of a COVID break. So I was very surprised. I was in London and I was very surprised that they were back up and at it. So we're just down here burrowing away, hoping no one stops us, really.
Yeah.
It's very...
Are you wearing any
very
sort
grateful.
of, what do you call it?
Motion capture?
Yeah, animation sort of suit of any kind?
No, he's not prepared to
Could
comment.
do. Yeah, well, yeah, that's a nod, I think.
I'm doing a bit of a Craig Bellamy here. I'm just going to...
Can we call you the Andy Serkis of Australia, or is that a step too far?
Oh, I've never really known who Andy Serkis is. Did he bowl for Australia? Oh, that was Andy Bickle.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
He carried the drinks, I think, more than
It was
bowled.
Dobby, right?
Dobby?
Dobby.
Oh, well.
Didn't he do Dobby?
My favourite Andy Serkis moment is when he did Ian Drury in
Ian
Sex,
Drury,
Drugs and
yeah,
Rock and Roll.
yeah.
It wasn't that great a movie, but still.
Now, gentlemen, I just want to spike your attention to a matter that came up earlier in the year, speaking of COVID.
I'm going to cough.
That when rugby league stopped being played, I think you might remember being incredibly depressed and afraid that you wouldn't get to watch the greatest game of all this year. Do you guys remember that feeling?
I wasn't that upset because we were 50% at that particular stage of the season, 1-1, so I always thought it was okay.
Were you ninth?
I think we're eighth, actually.
Whew.
And at the time we thought we're just going to have to watch League live every night with Bonnie and Bray talking about nothing forever. And Paul Kent went on the NRL League Live and he said, we need rugby league because it's been statistically proven that rugby league cures depression. And that if people watch rugby league, they're no longer depressed and that it improves people's mental health.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that he had a history in neuroscience and as a therapist and a counselor.
I thought you said depression.
And that he knew this, and that he had the stats. But apparently rugby league has cured depression. And I've been talking to the clubs this week about the antidepressants, about the medications that all the different clubs are on, because now that rugby league's been played, no one is depressed. People are kind of feeling different things. But guys, if you like, I can just go through the post-depression here and let you know what medications the different clubs are on.
Great.
Oh,
Love
fantastic.
to. Let's do it.
I'd say so.
Okay, so in the Panthers, they're on the Mitsubishis because they're fun, they're bogan, and they're up and dancing.
Yeah, and they love pink.
They love pink.
The Pink Panther Party Bus.
The Bulldogs, they can't afford any drugs, so they're just walking the Black Bulldog.
Yes.
The Red V, they just finished a 7-year course of a very depressing drug, Mad Dog morphine, but they're off it now.
They look off it.
The Warriors are willing to take any pill from anyone, wherever, whenever. The Eels are supplied by Andrew Johns, say no more. The Sharks,
Is this
the
on the-
Sharks were on a bit of
delivered on a
everything.
train, I believe?
The Sharks were on a lot of heavy stuff, but apparently Bronson Cherry has done away with most of that. Madge McGuire has given all the players in the Tigers lineup an orange pill, hoping they'll harden up. Ricky said, well, I've been given my team a green pill because they have hardened up. The Storm are waiting to see if Cameron will sign a script. Their antidepressants. And the Broncos, they're on ketamine, which basically results
It's a horse
in
tranquilizer, isn't it?
Yes.
no effort,
Yeah.
no chat,
No.
and no one talks,
No.
and you're just very quiet, and you're very low energy. It's called the K-hole, and it's in Brisbane at the moment. The Roosters have been a little psychologically scatty, but they're about to get some great cocaine from Canada. They should be very peppy very soon. Their Titans are about to get some heavy meds, but they're still being delivered from Brisbane. The Knights are on lithium. It's good stuff, but it can make you a bit boring.
Yes.
The Souths have been taking Wayne's happy pills whilst Wayne's been away in quarantine for illegal use of carbonara. Manly are on the Nurofen just to numb the pain. And the Cowboys, they're just plain depressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How good is that?
Back in a second, Quiet Australia with Kris, Denis and Brendan, myself, Stephen. Stay with us.
Back for the quick tap and go. 7 tackles up their sleeve. Fogarty, he might go the length. Chased by Big Papali, who comes up with an even bigger play. There's your tackle of the week, boys, right there. An ankle tap on the runaway half. How did Josh Papali do that?
Wow.
Did you see that tackle the other day? Look, I know
steam train.
Now, Josh Papali, he's not what you want to attractive man, is he? He's sort of, he's sort of slug-shaped with not even a good mullet, but it's a bit of hair at the back and a bit of fuzz at the top.
He has got a mullet at the moment.
I think if you ask most women south of Queanbeyan if they prefer a night with you or a night with JP,
What do
you
I
might
know?
be astounded by the stats.
The original Big Papa.
Personal observation.
And let's not forget, when he was doing his, I guess what became the plotline of Unhinged, his road rage incident, Papali was found to have thrown a 1 kilogram tub of moisturiser.
Yeah.
So he's got beautiful skin.
He has.
Absolutely beautiful skin.
You may remember the film Garp, where Garp got the shits at that hillbilly truck driver driving around the neighbourhood like a lunatic and threatening the kids. Ever see Garp?
The World According to Garp?
Yes. And one day he went, right, I'm off after him, and off he went, Is this what we're talking about? No.
Well, I think Jamal Fogarty, he's going to go down in history as the man that Papali caught.
And what position does he play?
He's the zippy little
you'd just
halfback.
hand your jumper in, wouldn't you? You'd hand your jumper in and walk away.
Yeah, this is not for me. This is clearly not for me.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry.
I apologise to my mum, my dad, my sister, my cousins,
My girlfriend.
team, my sponsor.
I'm going to play for the Suns.
So he heard this noise coming behind him, and it was Big Josh, right?
It was Big Josh Papali.
And we
Big
didn't
Papa,
know.
120 kilograms.
And what
of
speed did he reach?
31.7 kilometres per hour.
What's the record?
The record, well, for a prop forward, his personal record was 28.2. So he's topped it considerably. It was just desire. It was just will to win. It was
Is it really? Is it really? Because I'm no statistician, or as Ben Cummins was asked when questioned about whether it's a crusher tackle, he said, "I'm no doctor." But that's an amazing improvement, Denis. I mean,
it is. It's a lot. Well,
and it's just will and desire.
It
is
was
it?
desire. It was arousal.
What were those green pills that Ricky was supplying, Brendan?
Yes.
Well, they also the young man stepped a little to the right just as Papali made his lunge,
And
didn't
Papali
he?
made-
So it was almost like
Set
some kind of romantic notion of the E.T. movie where it couldn't have happened on another day because Papali got midair and then he changed direction and just tapped him, and it was one of those beautiful moments in rugby league.
Brendan, is it a scent thing? When the bunny goes by and the dogs just roar off, and I think the bunny's scented, so the dogs just get into that sort of feral, primal state. They just chase, and he just.
I don't know if mentioning dogs and the Canberra Raiders off season is the greatest idea
long time ago
since the Monaghan's played down there. So let's just.
But also his timing
wonder.
to get that ankle tap, and then every kid loves an ankle tap. Probably their favourite thing, right?
I had a
Ankle
peanut butter sandwich the other day.
Had a bit.
But we talk about this a lot. The physics is the human holding the ball is at a disadvantage to the human pursuing the human holding
We
the
still
ball. Right?
haven't had. I still want to do that.
What's the win factor?
I want to take Stephen to an oval
That's
and
right.
time him over 20 metres with the ball and without, because he's the pace man.
Yeah, have you heard this, Brendan, that Stephen claims that when in his rugby league days, which we all remember with great fondness, we also remember the, I guess it was the Gorton administration, but that Stephen claims that he is faster with the ball than without the ball.
Yeah. I'll put it to practice
Yeah,
for you lot.
Stephen, I don't know if you've seen Stephen's balls. He's got a couple of Libra furs on the side with the wings. It's like one of those little things shooting off the back with a red V on it.
Yes.
So the ball actually is aeronautical.
Yes.
There's got to be some. They're on public display somewhere. Chris, if you go looking for them.
Ben Lexon actually based the wing keel on your genital area.
Can I just also bring up a topic here?
It's called the Kay Cotty. Kay Cotty was involved. Elon Musk was involved. It's a fascinating piece of science.
Well, I went to the Western Australian Museum to see that wing keel just to get a little bit more information for speed.
Will you move when Bondi did the let's lift it up? Was that a good moment in your life?
That was beautiful. I love that.
We went the day.
Can I say one thing? Wasn't Josh Papali robbed in Manchester at an ATM? How does that happen?
The big fella can't catch him.
It was a numbers game.
31.7K. You'd think you'd get him.
Can I just put another thing forward? That I believe there are sports lovers and there are people who just don't care about sport at all. And the reason is that they don't care for competition and or the notion of winning or losing. And I said, doesn't every kid love to go in the running race and win or at least compete? This person said, no. Had no interest in winning or running in a race. Watching people run is essentially...
You want to chase them down.
Primal stuff.
You want to chase them
down.
down.
And I want to watch a great runner win, you know?
Well, Josh,
It's
you want to see Josh
time.
Papali. You want to see the 120 kilogram
Am I
prop
right or wrong?
find that extra 3Ks and drag him down. Because there is one school of thought, though, that if you're running along, if I'm running with the ball, and I know that 120 kilograms of Josh Papali is behind me, I'm going to find an extra yard of pace.
Well, you might freeze
somewhere.
me.
Not if you're Jared Fogarty.
Yeah. Well, that's enough of that one. Let's move on.
Can I bring up an issue again that occurred out of the Parramatta Storms game, which seemed to be replete with incident? Nakore went in for what ended up being, let's face it, a high shot on Brandon Smith and cracked the poor kid's jaw.
Yes, Brandon Smith.
So the block of cheese is out for 4 weeks.
What do you call the block of cheese?
Shape.
He is a funny shape. He's not classic rugby league, is he?
No.
Isaac Luke-ish. Bit round.
Papali-ish.
But he's a bit...
He's like a small
He's a bit
Papali.
more slug-shaped.
Did Cameron Smith name him?
Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it interesting
I
that...
feel like Brandon Smith was starting to get a little bit of attention, a little bit of dance around him, a little bit of money around him, a little bit of, we won't miss Cameron Smith. We got Brandon Smith, and then Cameron went, the block of cheese.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
He's not worth much at all.
He just made him stink a bit.
Yeah,
He just
on the
made him
nose.
stink a
Status,
bit.
yeah.
He just wrestled him down with the
One
nickname
shot.
and kept himself. That's
low
right.
shot,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
Don't tell me that Cameron Smith wasn't behind the Momorowski-Harry Grant swap just to get Grant off the radar.
Exactly.
I mean, it's hurt Brandon's brand and Harry's. But anyway, the word is he's out for 4 weeks, and the media has reported that the Melbourne Storms are now without their spirit animal.
Spirit animal?
Yeah. So
you mean like the dragon's
right,
a spirit
so
animal?
what do we see?
The tiger.
What do we see Brandon as?
The shark.
A block of cheese?
No.
So you're saying an animal. So it's not a cow. A cow produces cheese. It produces milk that becomes cheese.
I've heard wombat.
Wombat. That was his nickname. Obviously, it leans on the great Graham Eadie. But
do they have a ceremony?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it seems
the
like
team go bow down to the wombat. And, burn
a totem.
some-
They've got a pole with a totem.
Burn a dead wombat. Eat it for dinner.
It is a mystery that Fatso, the fat-ass wombat, was stolen from Olympic Park.
Yes.
It was atop a pole.
Off the plinth.
And it's been stolen from the plinth.
Is that right?
Perhaps...
And now we hear that Jack Gibson's fur coat's been stolen and lost forever.
Have you heard this story, Brendan?
I haven't, but it hurts me already.
Yeah.
So I was going to say maybe Megan the Stallion is the Broncos' spirit
Well,
animal.
it's a
but-
showstopper.
Yeah.
And apparently he didn't wear anything underneath.
Oh, the coat.
Under the coat. He was naked.
Oh, didn't he?
Sorry, I've just got a vision of a new
Jack
film.
Gibson, no wonder he was a showstopper.
I got a vision of a new film clip with Cardi B, Megan the Stallion, and Jack Gibson
Exactly, yeah.
in the kangaroo coat, naked underneath.
You've seen that blaxploitation film, The Mac, where you got to have the great big purple hat with the feather,
Yeah,
and
right.
the platforms and the ermine and fur or whatever, minks and style, etc. That's Jack.
So,
Pimp.
So if we remember Harvey Howard, do we remember English test prop Harvey Howard?
No.
No one?
No.
No. Played for the Magpies in 99, and there's an article in the Murdoch Press today that the Brisbane Broncos, who are like 13-1 against the Roosters this Friday, they're not as worse odds as the 99 Magpies were. Well, Harvey Howard played in that team, right? But he formed this bond with Jack Gibson, and Gibson gave him as a parting gift when Harvey was packing up his things and returning to London, he gave him the kangaroo coat.
Wow.
So what Harvey did was he stored the kangaroo coat in his Mitsubishi Pajero, which went into the container on the ship to head back to London, right? And when they opened up the container, no Pajero and no coat, and the authorities were able to recover the Pajero, but never the coat, which begs the reason, one, how did they get in the container, and were they in the container to steal the coat?
Well, my question is, like, we've found a couple of things. Fatso, the fat-ass wombat. The wombat is the spirit animal of the Melbourne Storm.
Yep.
The kangaroo fur coat, I reckon in Melbourne there's a lock-up somewhere that has all these things. You recall a few years ago a premiership ring was found in Darwin Harbour.
That's right.
That's right.
I wonder if the Melbourne Storms, they were supposed to have their premiership rings confiscated. I wonder if they're all in the lockup.
And that was the same premiership ring that the South Sydney Rabbitoh had lost overboard in front of the Opera House, right?
Yes.
And somehow the Trans-Pacific Current has picked it up and deposited it. It's very murky. It's very murky.
C. Smith all over this.
Were you fond of Gibson with his time at the Sharkies? I mean, they did it too, he's had.
Oh, yeah, we love Jack. He was a great presence. I was only young. I was just starting to play for De La Salle Caringbah.
Right.
In like the under sixes when he was coach. And that was when Gavin Miller and David Hatch and all those kind of, Speechley, all those kind of guys were playing for Cronulla. So he kind of left as I started playing. I think it probably had something to do with him seeing me in the under sixes. I don't know.
Do you feel you're part of the system? Like you as a 6-year-old, you thought, I'm in the Shark system, I'm going somewhere?
Feeder.
Yeah.
So it was all kind of around that. But yeah, he was incredible presence, incredible coach. And we wouldn't, the grand final wouldn't have been the same when Paul ripped off that quote about Harold Holt. It wouldn't have been the same 1-2 for Gal, because I don't know what Gal would have said if he didn't have that. What would Gal have said?
But Kenny was talking about Jack Gibson earlier this year, I think, in one of those endless, nostalgic reflections on Para v Manly, and he credited Jack Gibson for saying the immortal words after they won in 1981, King Kong, the witch is dead.
King Kong?
That's pretty good. He also said about Andrew Eddinghausen, he said the guy's so fast he can turn the light switch off and be in bed before it's dark.
Which
is
is true.
that faster than Josh Papali?
Which was stolen off Muhammad Ali, I think.
See, I think there should be a race between Papa and ET. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, now
get
the
kiddies in.
Now that we're on air, we mentioned
Muhammad Ali. It'd be great to bring those races back,
wouldn't it?
Oh yeah,
I love it.
Oh
yeah.
Well, I mean, not just there should be a players' race at halftime in the grand final, mascots race, veterans
race,
and officials.
Great. Match officials.
Because
coaches.
What about players? What about players who've done their ACL in the year?
Yeah.
What about players like Trebojevic, Blake Green, Jack Bird, anyone who's had a season-ending injury, just 20 metres.
Let's be inclusive. Be inclusive, Brendan.
Yeah, wheelchair rugby league. Wheelchair rugby league's a big deal around the state. You get your wheelchair races.
Or a three-legged race between the injured party and their surgeon.
Yeah, I like that. Or off-field injuries. Anyone with an off-field scandal?
Yes. Wags would be good too. A Wags relay.
Wags.
Yeah, in heels. Fantastic.
Chasing the canapes. You get Kurt Fernley to come in and adjudicate the race. Give him a talk beforehand. It'd be fantastic.
Can I ask, Brendan, you made reference to the beauty of the 6 again rule, which is the bane of my existence. Are you happy with Volandes tinkering with the rules mid-season like he did?
Oh, look, I've loved everything the landscape has done since he's arrived. I love his story. I love that it comes from a place of bullying and that he owes something to the rugby league.
Yes.
I think the 6 again. I think the 6 again's fantastic. I think it can get a little bit free and easy.
Yes.
And I would like just a little thing to come up on the screen, and maybe it could be said in Peter Volanders' voice. It just comes up on the screen to explain why it was 6 again.
Yes.
Because I never know.
It's a mystery, isn't it?
It could be like, he could film Volanders could just go, Kalen Ponga trod on his foot, and then and that'd be enough.
You could have him on a green screen, just in the bottom corner, super over the top.
Yeah.
Volandis saying,
just explain them all.
Ponga stood on his foot.
And also,
Six again.
maybe not 6 again for all of them. Maybe 2 more or 4 more.
I think that would be much better.
At the referee's discretion. And this is all the referee's discretion. Yeah, that one's a 4. That one's a 5. This is a 6.
And you think
I actually reckon what was happening to the game was, and I genuinely mean this, what was happening to the game was really bad. Where I used to count the Melbourne Storm tackles would go to somewhere between 8 seconds and 12 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I actually reckon that what this 6 again has done has made the players go, all right, we'll stop doing that. So it's almost like you could go back to the old rules now, and they might just have a bit of 6 again about them.
And yet, Brendan, there are ways and means still, and that canny bastard that recites the Mount Kilimanjaro speech,
Robbo.
Game day.
They do this thing now where it's like it's minimum 4 men in a tackle. So one goes down a second, the third one wraps his health front, and the last one just plops on top. Occasionally you get a fifth that puts his hand on just to make sure, and then of course the peel off takes time. There are some really manipulative bastards out there.
This is almost like Cameron Smith's final legacy.
We are the Storm.
That Stephen would, if we would be recording on a Friday after a Storm game on the Thursday night, you just come in, your nerves are jangling. You're so furious because he hasn't watched the game. He's simply watched the Melbourne wrestle, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of Smith's
It does
parting
head
shot is that I'm so
awful.
above the game. I have changed the rules fundamentally.
He's changed me.
And for me,
And Malcolm Knox can't see that.
no, he can't see that. And that oven bell. Like, to me, it's a Pavlovian response now. Like, I want to hit someone when I hear that.
Maybe it's just
oven
when
bell.
you play. Maybe the 6 again rule should just be enforced when you're playing the Storm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think that
And
the audience
it's the
is
Storm
hearing.
6. It's the Storm, and you don't actually call 6 again. You just call Storm, Smith, Cameras,
And under
Stormy.
And under your proposal, Smith and Bellamy are coaching against the Storm. It's
fantastic.
whatever team they're allocated
That's very meta.
How good is
very
that?
meta.
How good is that?
But the oven bell, people are loving the oven bell. The crowds, if their
they?
team hasn't got, like the other day there was a Rabbitohs Manly. Manly got 3 6 against before the Rabbitohs got one. Despite the fact they're 38-0 up, and obviously the Rabbitohs, they're unhappy about that. They need to be more than that.
They got to boo.
But when they were booing, booing the
Gotta
6
boo.
again. And it's like it gives them something, there's something extra for them to hate and
hate,
love.
yeah.
And when it comes their way, the ironic
Chris,
Bronx
do you-
cheer, yay!
Some
Do you
fans,
blame the 6 again rule for the injury mashup?
All of that. The blowouts,
All of
everything. Because, can I say, rugby league is a momentum game, and it just seems to me it's basically described the class system that exists in rugby league between the overs and the unders. It's emphasised the difference between the rich and the poor. So the talent wins out.
Here he is, bringing class into it again.
The old wrestle enabled the less talented clubs to hang into the contest.
put forward another fact?
Enable the Storm to win.
Can I counter that with
It's
one
Brexit.
thing?
Is that what you're saying? It's Brexit.
And exactly. And has it changed it? Penrith, yes, maybe a little blip on the screen, but there's every chance there'll be another Roosters Storm grand final.
Chris,
God, don't say
two
it.
of the leading teams are the only 2 teams with over 11 players injured as of but last week. I don't know what they are now, 12 or 13, 10. So something's going wrong for them.
But they're still at the top of the
they're
table.
still-
This
top,
year,
you're right,
thus
yeah.
far, since the 6 again started, ball in play, so actual players running with the ball, not on the ground, not waiting for penalties, not sitting around, not Cameron Smith lying in the ruck for 15 minutes, as was being talked about before.
Talking to the referees.
It's actually, on average, it's more than 5 minutes longer per game.
Is that right?
So, sorry, that's not just ball in play. That's ball in play and runners going over 20 Ks.
There's more action.
So runners, there is a lot more activity.
Yeah.
The longest game last year, the longest ball in play is still 3 minutes shorter than the shortest game this year.
And that
so
gave-
there is more ball in
What's
play.
the-
They're up to 10.
Mystery
There was one-
entertainment, right?
Well, that gave
the
the
difference
Roosters
is 17.
Yeah,
The
thank you. That
difference-
gave the Roosters the chance to beat us by 22 instead of 16.
For
Fantastic.
Hollywood.
There was the difference between last year's shortest game and this year's longest is 17 minutes
Right.
of ball in play at pace.
Yeah.
There is a lot more football. There's a lot more potential for injuries, a lot more potential for the Roosters to score against
And
the
then
Tigers.
in the end, your team takes a pass and drops the ball cold, and you go, who am I going to blame for that? That's it.
So,
Jason
good.
Bulgarelli. You're going to
So-
blame Jason Bulgarelli.
So I have a
Sorry,
feeling
Boogs.
that we should draw a line under this.
Yes.
So, but Brendan, we can't leave you without asking. Sharks make the GF. It's in October, November, December.
Yeah.
You've got a couple of key scenes to film. How do you resolve that? Because you missed the last one.
Well, Yeah, but the thing was, the Sharks, I don't know if you might remember the 2016 season. The word 16 was a key part of that season because we won 16 in a row before we won the comp and beat the Melbourne Storm in the grand final. I can't even remember what the question was, but geez, I enjoyed that.
No problem. That's a good answer.
Rightio. Now, do you want to mention, is there anything else? There was an incident, James Maloney repeat.
Well, James Maloney repeat.
A shoe was taken off and thrown into the audience.
The NRL. The NRL finally, after 7 years, has gone true to its word. In 2013, James Maloney threw the shoes of Blake Ferguson, and who was the Titans player? There's a Titans player who threw his shoe as well. Kevin Gordon. Threw Kevin Gordon's shoe.
Prince.
So the NRL came out...
Jared Fogarty.
The NRL came out and said the tactic will not be tolerated for crowd and player safety reasons. And Roosters coach Trent Robinson confirmed he will speak to his 5'8" about it. Now, that was 2013. So they've said we're outlawing it. We're stopping it. The following year, he threw 2 more shoes. Nothing happened. Not a thing. This whole edict went out.
Dennis, I've got 2 words for you. COVID-19... Uncharted waters, new territory.
2017. You recall Ben Hunt throwing the shoe in Origin?
I do.
Maloney did. And again, they come out and said they're going to punish it. This weekend,
the cheeky little buggers.
Finally, Jack Murchie threw a shoe and got penalised.
Yeah.
It's taken 7 years for the NRL to say we're going to penalise this. And the blight that is shoe throwing.
Progress was made.
Finally, after 7 years. Peter Volandis.
Are you crediting Volandis for this?
Absolutely.
Everything.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brendan. Good luck
But
with
you
Avatar.
know what, Dennis? If he grabbed that shoe and he filled it with beer and he drank from it, he would have been a bloody legend.
It'll be 2016 all over again.
See you, Brendan. Thanks very much. Enjoy your filmmaking. We hope to see it next year.
I think it's December 22 now, which will be so the Sharks will be looking for 3 in a row.
That'll be right, and that's when the grand final will be on.
Is that sort of Cameron style?
I'll be in there tomorrow with James Cameron, and when he calls action, I'm going to say, fire up.
Fire up. Have you turned him onto the Sharks yet?
Yeah, absolutely. He's massive. He's massive into the Sharks. He was a Titans fan, and the mighty Titans.
All that underwater stuff.
He's full Sharks.
Okay.
Loves the environment.
All right. That's it for us. Fire up. Back next week. See you later, Brendan, Kris, Dennis.
Thank you,
Bye.
Because I'm all fired up. I'm all fired up and lonesome. I got a chip on my shoulder. I'm acting just a little too tough.